First of all, I must thank Indian Institute of Spice Research and specifically Dr. Santosh Iyappan and Dr. Bhatt for having me as part of SIMSAC. I'm going to talk about computational gastronomy and how to leverage AI, artificial intelligence, for achieving data-driven food innovations. And as you rightly said, Dr. Bhatt, this is a very new topic. This is a new thematic area that has emerged in the last 5 to 6 years of its existence. And I'm going to highlight to you guys about how spices are critical and central to Indian cuisine and how they are critical when it comes to the health benefits. And that's the research that we have done. So let me present you that work. So I come from IIIT Delhi, Center for Computational Biology. And this is where we have been working on applications of computer science for various areas of biology and computational biology in general. To very briefly tell you about who am I am a computational biologist, but I have been trained as a physicist. And as a teenager, I was an aspiring astronomer. I wanted to be an astronomer, but it has been a journey from astronomy to gastronomy, a long journey at the same time. In this process, I have been trained in physics, computer science, computational biology, did my PhD from Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad, was at NCBS for a while, then at Max Planck. So that's the journey that I have taken to reach to where I am today. To tell you further about computational gastronomy, I'm sure each one of you is wondering about what this computational gastronomy is all about. I'm just waiting my slides to change, just a moment. There you go. So computational gastronomy is defined as a data science. It's a data science which blends food with data and the power of computation for achieving data-driven food innovations. Quite clearly, none of us would have expected that a topic which is as subjective and as intimate to our subjective experiences, such as food, can be converted into a data science. So computational gastronomy tries to achieve that in terms of trying to blend it with food, data, and power of computation. When we look at food, may I request the audiences to mute themselves, those who are not. Yeah, thank you. When we look at food, we look at it as a magical phenomena which transforms raw ingredients into delicious dishes. To an extent that the ability of cooking has been considered to be the central mechanism, central process for the evolution of disproportionately large brain sizes that we have. To the very extent that it has been argued that cooking is the very essence of being human. Apart from languages that we have as a characteristic feature of Homo sapiens, cooking also characterizes us and makes us distinct as opposed to all other species on the face of the earth. Ironically, while we have evolved to become what we are, Homo sapiens, the dominant species on the face of the earth, we have been plagued with the epidemic of lifestyle disorders, the cardiovascular disorders, the diabetes, and similar disorders, which are primarily contributed by food apart from other factors. Food is one of the key factors which is driving these lifestyle disorders. So, can we look at food from a completely different perspective in 21st century? Well, that's the question we are asking in our lab. We are trying to use data as a central thematic area by which we can transform recipes, ingredients, flavors, and similar aspects. And we are trying to build databases, structured repositories around these elements, whether it is traditional recipes, the kind of flavors which are present in ingredients, including spices, as well as nutritional value of ingredients and health impacts of each of the ingredient that go into the recipes. So these are the jigsaw pieces of the food puzzle that we are trying to build in our lab. All of this started with a journey, with a simple question. That all began in IIT Jodhpur, where I was an assistant professor in 2014-15, wherein we asked a question about why do we eat what we eat, whatever we consume, what is the basis for the same? Can we answer this question about why we are eating the dhokla and the idli and the upma that we are consuming on a day-to-day basis? Turns out that this is a very difficult question to answer, and thereby we transform this question knowing that each recipe is essentially a characteristic combination of ingredients. So we simplified the recipe as nothing but a bunch of ingredients put together in a characteristic fashion. With that, this question gets transformed into a relatively simple and effectively manageable question, which is, why do we combine ingredients the way we do in our recipes? Well, that's an interesting question to ask. And I don't know whether anybody has an answer to this question or not, but those who cook on a regular basis, foodies, food enthusiasts, as well as chefs who are thinking about food, are expected to have an answer to such an interesting question. One answer that came was from Chef Heston Blumenthal from United Kingdom. He suggested that there is something called food pairing phenomena which goes into the recipes. Ingredients that taste similar tend to go well with each other. In the traditional recipes, such ingredients tend to be combined far more frequently than other ingredients. That's a proposition that he made. And in fact, in 2011, this particular proposition was shown to be true for most of the Western cuisines. They showed in this particular research article from Scientific Report that indeed recipes from Western America, North America, Latin America, Western and Southern European cuisines tend to have the so-called food pairing phenomena. What was not investigated until 2015 was that of Indian cuisine. So in our lab, we started looking at Indian cuisine, which happens to be a rich, diverse, and health-centric practices, which has such characteristic features, but nobody had studied until Indian cuisine until then. So we started our data-driven investigation of Indian cuisine in 2014 and 15 and started collecting the data corresponding to these. So where do you get this data? So we collected this data in a tripartite manner. The first element of the data that we collected was essentially recipe names and their ingredients, which is a very simple factor, I must say. So we collected from various online repositories, of which Tarla Dalal turned out to be one of the best in terms of mapping each recipe to one of the Indian cuisines, prominent Indian cuisines, may I say. And I know that there is a lot of coarse graining here. All the South Indian recipes, for example, have been bundled under a South Indian cuisine, which I shall come back to it in terms of highlighting the lacuna of the work. But then this was the initial point, the beginning point, where we collected 2,543 recipes from across the length and the breadth of the country belonging to different cuisines. And these recipes were composed of around 193 ingredients, and each of the ingredients belonged to one of these ingredient categories. Either it was additive, beverage, dairy, fish, seafood, flour, etc. One of these categories exclusively it belonged to. Having collected the data of recipes and the ingredients to which these recipes are composed of, we further went ahead and asked a question: what makes the taste of an ingredient possible? Well, in any given ingredient, the flavor molecules which go into it are the ones which are interacting with the olfactory and gustatory machinery, the taste and odor machinery in the human body, thereby giving rise to a rich sense of flavor and the fragrance that we end up experiencing when we consume these ingredients or we smell or taste these ingredients. Thereby, we wanted to compile an exhaustive list of flavor molecules that are found in each of these ingredients, which obviously included spices, apart from other category of ingredients. Thereby, by looking at various data resources that were available, that included the Phenoroles Handbook, the PubChem and the PubMed, apart from various research articles, in which using gas chromatography and mass spectroscopy studies, people had reported, researchers had reported earlier, the flavor molecules. We compiled a list of flavor molecules in each of these ingredients: the onion, the chilies, the tomatoes, the turmeric, the clove, and the cardamom. We compiled a list of flavor molecules. By now, we had got plenty of data: the data of recipes at one level, the ingredients of which the recipes are composed of at the second level, and the flavor molecules which are found in these ingredients at the third level. What we did was for the first time ever, quantify the taste of a recipe using a food pairing index. For paucity of time, I'm not going into the details of how it was defined. I'm going to point you to the research articles that we have published so that you can look up into that. But in summary, each of the recipe was broken down into its constituent ingredients, and pairwise combinations were made, such as in this caricature chutney, you have coconut and onion coming together. We looked at the overlap of flavor profile that gives us a number of how many flavor molecules are common between the two. And the same is true for coconut and chili, how many are common between the two, and so on and so forth. Having got these numbers, we can actually measure the food pairing index, which is nothing but average number of shared flavor molecules across all pair of ingredients that go into a recipe. Having got this number for the first time ever, we have quantified the taste and odor of a recipe. And why are we doing all of this? We are doing this because we want to ask a question: compared to a cuisine or compared to a bunch of recipes in which ingredients are combined in an arbitrary fashion, like a monkey cuisine, like a monkey entering into a kitchen and trying to put ingredients together. If one were to look at traditional recipes which have evolved as a product of climate, culture, genetics, all of these factors have played a role in shaping the real recipes, the traditional recipes. How are they different from a random bunch of recipes? If you ask that question, turns out that compared to a randomized bunch of ingredients, recipes, the real recipes, the traditional recipes from Western cuisines tend to have a uniform blend of ingredients. Ingredients that are similar in taste and odor coming together far more frequently than otherwise. What we found in Indian recipes was extremely of contrasting nature. We found that we have a contrasting blend of ingredients such that Indian recipes are characterized with ingredient combinations, pairwise combinations, that are of distinct nature when it comes to their flavor profile, including, of course, the spice flavors and spice ingredients. Well, that was a very interesting observation that we did one more computational experiment wherein we investigated what is the role of a particular ingredient of a category such as vegetables in a recipe and its flavor profile index, the food pairing index. Well, we found that if you were to keep everything else same but to shuffle vegetables, let's say, then the food pairing index only changes marginally from what it was originally to what it would be after shuffling of all the vegetables randomly in a given cuisine. And the same is true for the fruits, dairy, and other ingredient categories. There was one ingredient category, however, which was extremely sensitive, for which the recipes were extremely sensitive in Indian recipes. And it turned out that if you were to shuffle these ingredients of one category, the food pairing index was dramatically disturbed. And you can guess what category that would be. That turned out to be spices. What we figured is that spices are the molecular fulcrum of Indian recipes. By shuffling them randomly, we are shuffling or we are disturbing the food pairing index in a dramatic fashion, which is essentially suggesting that spices are critical. The placement of spices is extremely critical in Indian recipes. Many of you would say that this is something which is very obvious. Of course, it is obvious to those who have been cooking and have been observing Indian recipes for a long period of time. What is interesting is that this is coming out as a byproduct of a mathematical and computational analysis, which is done using a data-driven study. So that was something which was very unique, and chefs and culinary enthusiasts appreciated this observation coming from a mathematical investigation of Indian cuisine. And going by this observation, we declared that spice, incidentally, is the taste of India. That is the placement of spices is what decides, and that can be shown using computational investigation, that they are the one which are molecular fulcrum of Indian recipes. We went ahead and beyond the food pairing, we actually created what could be called as the culinary fingerprints. Like a DNA fingerprint which characterizes an individual, we computed culinary fingerprint, which characterizes a cuisine, such as the South Indian cuisine, which has been highlighted here, which shows what is the role of each ingredient category, which have been highlighted in different colors, like the brown, the green, and the yellow, etc. And what are their contributions towards the food pairing index. What we found as a characteristic feature is that across regional cuisines as well, within the Indian cuisine, such as Bengali, Gujarati, Mughlai, not Mughlai, Mughlai was an exception, Rajasthani, etc., Maharashtrian cuisine, all of these cuisines, including South Indian cuisine, spices, apart from dairy, were playing a key role in, in terms of the culinary fingerprint. And this is what we highlighted in our research article published in 2015, suggesting culinary fingerprint as a way of measuring, computationally measuring the role of ingredient categories towards the food pairing index. We have gone ahead beyond India and have categorized or characterized the culinary fingerprints of the world cuisines. We have looked at around 26 world regions and 84 countries and recipes across them, 1,53,000 or 45,000 odd recipes, which we have used for our analysis and have shown the culinary fingerprints or characterized the culinary fingerprints of these cuisines. This was historical work that we have done in our lab, and this was published in 2015 and 16 and was highlighted as an emerging technology by none other than MIT Technology Review. And by the end of 2015, it was declared as best of 2015 research, one of those. And this research has obviously taken attention of various media houses, including Mr. Veer Sanghvi, who highlighted this as part of his rude food column and went into his book called The Indian Pantry, The Hindu, and a large number of media houses, more than 200 media houses have highlighted our work. Currying flavor was the title that was used by Chemistry World, which is one of the prominent scientific publications, journal publication that is out there. Chefs like Garima Arora, who is a Michelin star chef, has been using our research for designing or tinkering her recipes in her kitchen in her restaurant called Ga, and this was highlighted in this particular article called Decoding Flavors. And the industry is not far behind in acknowledging our work as the sweet spot of food, wherein for the first ever time we are trying to blend food with data and the power of computation. With that, I'm concluding the first part of my work, and in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I would like to touch upon what is the future of food when we see it through the lens of AI. There are a lot of shortcomings in the present work that I showed to you by virtue of the fact that this is absolutely a very early phase of computational gastronomy, which investigates food from a data science perspective, where we are looking at recipe as a bunch of ingredients. In reality, of course, the recipe is not a bunch of ingredients. We have ignored a lot of interesting facts about the order of the ingredients, the processing which goes into it, the quantity of the ingredients, the amount of molecules or concentration of molecules which are present in each of the ingredient. We need to account all of those factors. And what I'm going to show you is that that's what we have been doing it for the last 5 to 6 years after doing the initial bit of work, and have been trying to use AI, artificial intelligence, and tools of machine learning and data science for achieving data-driven food innovations. There are 3 pillars that I'm going to briefly touch upon. One is recipe data analytics, flavor-based flavor molecules data analytics, and health-related data analytics. And I will tell you how spices are an integral and central part of such observations that we have made. The first thing that we have done for any data-driven analysis, for any modern day computational and data-centric analysis, you need to have well-curated data, which was missing until now. We have created resources such as FlavorDB, which is the world leader today when it comes to flavor molecules repository of more than close to 1,000 ingredients that are going into the recipes. And RecipeDB, which is now published in a journal called Database, wherein we have created a structured repository of more than 118,000 recipes from across the world, giving its nutritional profile and a very, very structured information of recipes. These are one of the few of the resources that we have created. when it comes to recipes and flavor related molecules. The question that we are asking, one of the most interesting questions that we are asking is this: how many recipes are theoretically possible? The answer to that question, without getting into the nitty-gritty of the calculations, I will tell you, is 10 to the power 30 or around that. This number is more than the number of the stars that are there in the whole universe, suggesting that the number of recipes that can be created is humongously large, even after deleting or removing those recipes which are non-palatable. Thereby, we are asking in our lab the question: can we use the power of machine learning AI for generating recipes using computation, computers' power? Can computers cook? Can computers generate novel recipes? Similar to an intuition of a chef, an intelligent human being. Can we do that? Well, we have gone ahead and published one of the early papers in this direction in a reputed natural language processing conference called Coling in last year, where we are trying to show this. I don't know how many of you have seen this movie Ratatouille. I'm sure many of you would raise your hands when I say Ratatouille, in which Chef Gustav keeps saying this: anyone can cook. So we are asking this question: can computers cook? And hopefully we anticipate answer to this question coming in the next 3 to 5 years maximum. Because it's a very challenging question, I don't expect to have an answer to this question in a short time. We have gone ahead in the molecular space, without getting into details of the technicalities, building machine learning algorithms for predicting the taste of a molecule, which can be used for designing new age sweeteners. So space where can we predict whether a molecule should be a spice molecule or a non-spice molecule, that we are trying to work on. Is it possible for us to build a classifier of that sort or not? Towards the concluding part of my presentation, I would like to tell you that we have created a repository of health related impacts of ingredients, including spices. One of them is called SpiceRx, which is about spices and their health impacts. And the other one, which is more comprehensive, which includes spices as well, is called DietRx. The way food interacts with human body and gives rise to health consequences is way too complex, unlike a simple equation which has been shown in front of you. And thereby, we wanted to compile all the data that is available, which is inclusive of more than 38,000 research articles published in the last 90 years and available on Medline. So we looked at their titles and the abstracts and built a text mining protocol for finding out food disease associations. How are food associated ingredients that are going into food are associated with a disease? For example, a tomato and a cardiovascular disorder, are they related to each other according to any of the empirical research that has been published? Can we collate it and make a repository, a database out of it? Well, that's what we have done as part of DietRx. And we are trying to use this research for further investigating how we can build recipes by using this data. And spices related information is something that we have used for investigating the benevolent effect and deleterious effect of herbs and spice, culinary herbs and spices. That's what we have done. And what we have shown, interestingly, is that culinary herbs and spices, as based on the empirical research, which is nothing new here, they have been known to be used for their fragrance and flavor, apart from antimicrobial properties. But in addition to that, we find that a range of health related disorders, including cardiovascular disorders, immune system related disorders, gastrointestinal disorders, and others, which is going across the so-called medical subject heading, the MESH category, across this particular paper published in PLOS One talks about. It talks about how data-driven analysis of biomedical literature is suggesting the broad spectrum benevolent effects of culinary herbs and spices. To conclude, what I would like to tell you is that all of this research in computational gastronomy is taking us towards personalized nutrition, where we can design the new age recipes in figuring out how to use and which spices and herbs to use based on their benevolent effect into the recipes, and create recipes which are of better, which are useful for better health. That's what we are trying to move in that direction. And computational gastronomy is trying to achieve that. With that, I would like to conclude and to tell you to say, with this particular quote, I would like to conclude to say that the discovery of a new dish confers more happiness on humanity than the discovery of a new star. While I wanted to be an astronomer and discover new stars, which has not been possible, but I've been on the path of discovering new dishes, which hopefully will make humanity happier and slightly healthier. That's what I wish will happen. With that, I would like to thank a large number of students, research interns, MTech and BTech interns, students who have worked in with me. The number is too large to name them individually. Therefore, I would like to thank them as a group and would like to take up any questions that you may have on computational gastronomy and specifically in the context of herbs and spices.
Thank you, Professor. Such a very innovative